Let's move on to the Metropolitan Division here, and we'll start with the Carolina Hurricanes. They're the same price as the Islanders to win the division. I made future bets on them 2 years ago and 3 years ago. I didn't last year, and I couldn't because of their goaltending. And now I thought that with Nedeljkovic getting older and better, that would be done, and you could back him. Now they have Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta. Ranta just gets injury problems nonstop, and Freddie Anderson just isn't the guy. He's not the guy. And this team has so much going for them. Nechas, Aho, Kotkaniemi on the first line, Svechnikov, Trocheck, Teravainen on the second line, Stahl, Niederreiter, and Jesper Fast on the third line. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep Stahl and Niederreiter together because they're just not fleet of foot enough, but they have a ton of size. I like the move. You know, it was not re-signing Dougie Hamilton was questioned, but look, earlier in his career, Dougie Hamilton was passed around from franchise. Why? There has to be some leadership issues. So I had no problem with them not having him. I think Slavin can be the real deal. Pesci, Brady Shea. I think this is a really good hockey team. The issue for me is I think the Islanders are a better hockey team than them. And so I've got nothing to do with Hurricanes futures, but they're a very good hockey team. Let's take a look at what 95.5 is their season win total.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing in a tough division, obviously, but that seems a little low to me. No?
It does. Dennis Garcia says Carolina to make the playoffs, win the division over point total. He thinks they're better than the Islanders. Yeah, it does. You know, maybe at plus 290 on each side. The problem is I'm just so in love with this Islanders roster, but maybe at plus 290 on each side. I guess I can't do that because the Rangers have some high-end talent and they could get in the mix. And counting the Capitals out is dangerous. So, no, I just like the Islanders better than them. But this is a really good hockey team. There's no doubt about it. Mr. Gogser says Anderson will get this team over the hump. I don't know if they will. Johnny K says D'Angelo could be an anchor. Look, this guy showed so much talent and then was cut from the Rangers for character issues. Now, Rod Brindamore will kick his ass if he needs to. But I guess my issue is I just like the Islanders more than them. But I think at 95.5, it's probably a good number. Slat says lost Hamilton, gave $6 million to Kotkaniemi, and gave away their promising goalie. That was a big part of me going with the Islanders. Dennis Garcia says the goaltending is competent. It is, yeah. It's okay. Any thoughts of moving on this over, Pete?
No, just because it's a tough division.
This Islanders, let's move over to the Islanders. This Islanders team is so deep, so hungry, so good. Anders Lee was out all last year. They gave him the captaincy for a reason, and he's a big body. He's everything that you'd want in a forward on the line with Barzal and Palmieri on the first line. Beauvillier, Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey on the second line. Parise, Pajot, and Wallstrom on the third line. We don't know how good Wallstrom could be. He's on their first power play unit. He's on the point of their first power play unit. And this guy could be a special forward. And then you have the best fourth line of hockey, Matt Martin, Zekas, and Cal Clutterbuck that can completely change the mode of the game, the mood of the situation, anything they need. And they start every period. You have Pelech and Pullock on that first defensive pair. They add Chara to this dressing room. You have Mayfield and Green as the final defensive pair. They are bad. Last year, the Islanders defense had, bottom three Corsi figures, and some would say they were the best defense in the NHL. But then you have Varlamov and Sorokin in net. I mean, these guys, they're going to win the Jennings. This team is so deep. Parise linking up with the man who drafted him this late in his career with a ton to prove. I'm in love with this team. I'm in love with this roster. I'm in love with what they've gone through in the playoffs and not gotten over the hump. I just think this team is ready for everything. I have them to win the division, to win the conference, and to win the cup. What do you think, Pete?
Okay. Yeah, the analytics, as you probably are aware of, don't really like them that much, as much as you like them. But that's been the case for a bunch of years with the Islanders, and they've outperformed that every year. So yeah, there's something up with this team. I mean, the analytics kind of have. They don't have really elite players like Barzal and Varlamov are the only real true elite players they have, and Pulak as well. Borderline. But again, they've overperformed those projections for a few years now. So I would trust your take on it way more than the analytics I'm looking at.
Yeah, and it's Lou Lamoriello too. It's about trusting him and seeing who he's giving the big contracts to. And Bertie says the Islanders have to score more. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Again, that's part of the reason why the defense has such poor Corsi numbers, is because they're just not. They don't have that help. Dennis Garcia says analytics never liked New York Islanders. I prefer them as a playoff team, not a 100-point division winning regular season team. I get that, and I get why you're bullish on the Hurricanes. And Sly says you don't think the Islanders are still thinking about that last game versus Tampa. They might be the hungriest team in the NHL.
Yeah.
We're going to need a little bit more than 17 minutes to finish all these games, Jose. And I don't want to. I know that the college football show is being moved to today, and I don't want to go up against them. I'm not sure what to do because I would like to finish this off here because I got Pete's. So I'm just going to keep rolling quickly. Next up is the New York Rangers. The Rangers have Lafreniere and Kakko. And if you look at the trajectory of the Devils with Hughes and Hischier, the only thing that you can say, and they've taken some time, is that the Rangers have much better players around them. And we know how you win a Stanley Cup is by getting first overall and second overall picks. I mean, the Blackhawks showed us exactly how you win a Stanley Cup. Zibanejad just gets his huge contract. I've been a big fan of his for a while. Kreider on that first line, then Artemi Panarin, who's an absolute, just a spectacular hockey player with Strome and Kakko. Strome's resurgence here when people question whether he'd have a spot in this league is impressive. Picking up Ryan Reeves is such a smart move. You just don't want to get bullied. I don't know why every team wasn't trying to get him. Adam Fox, wins a Norris Trophy out of nowhere. He's special. I expected a little more from Trouba, but this is a very talented hockey team with two very good goalies in Shesterkin and Georgiev. They're a good hockey team. I don't know what to do. Dennis Garcia said made a small bet over a wins. Did you use the Rangers in your action at all, Pete?
No.
And what was it that turned you off? Was it just that this young offense can't be trusted quite enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quality team. It's a very tough division this year. There's obviously a lot of quality. I mean, basically, there's just there's the Devils to the Flyers are basically all. There's a lot of parity there and quality parity, and then you got the Blue Jackets who are terrible, but not terrible, but a notch below. So I think they're accurately priced as far as the points total is concerned at about 94.
And look, Panarin's magic. This team could be very, very good. I'm not sure what to do with them.
I mean, it'll be a fun team to watch. I just wouldn't bet the total.
Then we get to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're in tough, but Crosby will be back here soon, and Guentzel, I heard, might even be back tonight now. I don't know if he will be. Let's take a look at what their number is. They're at 95.5, juice to the over. How do we not bet the under on this? How do we not bet the under? They always seem to do so much with some of their parts, but I look at Letang and think, God, they should have traded him when they had the chance, when his value was high. Ownership wants him to retire a Pittsburgh Penguin. And whenever you want stuff like that, your franchise gets hurt because of it. Rust is such a good hockey player. Such a he's exactly the kind of hockey player I'd want on my hockey team. Jeff Carter still has a lot to prove late in his career. Denton, Heinen, Zucker missed most of last year with injury. Rodriguez, Kasperi, Kapanen. They need scoring from Kapanen. I do not see this as a good hockey team, even if Malkin was healthy.
Yeah, I
don't
mean
know.
he's gonna be injured most of the year, I think.
Well, yeah, because he says he'll come back in 2 months, but when he comes back, is he going to play every second night or
No.
every?
Yeah.
And North Ender says no mention of Lafreniere. Yeah, that was the very first thing we said about him. Remo says he's unavailable for tonight. Lafreniere was the very first thing we talked about with the Rangers, North Ender. So, how do we not take the under 95.5 points with this team?
I think it's good. The analytics say it's about even. But yeah, Cindy plays horses, likes the under, although she says 97.5, which isn't available now. It's 95.5. But yeah, I would definitely lean that way.
Maybe that would be an addition. I'm trying not to put too much, but this team always seems to play well. Williams Wrestling, thank you for joining us. Says Pete looking fly.
Yeah. So what are we going to do, Jim? Are we going to do the rest of the other two divisions?
I'd like to quickly go over them. I'll just speed everything up here. If we're a couple minutes into the 1 o'clock show, I don't think they'll be too angry with us. Let's move on to the Capitals here, a very old squad.
Under. No?
I think you're probably right. What is the number that you're getting?
Let me see. Why don't you do some talking while I look for the number?
I get 95.5 at Bet365. It's just they're a professional outfit. And I'm still hesitant to fade them. They know what it takes to win, and I don't know what to do here. Mantha, I thought was a great pickup. When you look at your top players and they're, Oshie, Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Backstrom's hurt right now. That's an old group. It's an old group to trust. I don't know, Pete. That seems right around where they're going to end up.
You're right. It's a little bit low considering the talent, but I would be leaning under for sure.
I would do that as well.
Not going to make it.
All right. It's all good, North End. All good. But, yeah, we open with Lafreniere, the comparison to Hughes and Hischier over in New Jersey. Look, they're a team that will be more dangerous in the playoffs if they're healthy than they will be during a regular season. So I think there's a lot of truth there. Let's move on. We got to speed this up. Let's move on to the Philadelphia Flyers. I cannot believe what's happened to this roster. I'm just shocked. Giroux is just not being the player that we expected him to be. Joel Farabee may be very good, but you can't possibly go into a season with Brassard as your second-line center. It's just so Couturier, Konechny, and Giroux should be a good line, but you bring in Ristolainen and Ryan Ellis. This defense has been so bad over the years. This team looks bad. And then you have so much on whether Carter Hart plays well because Martin Jones can't back him up.
Statistically, the worst goalie in the league.
I do not know. Johnny K saying Scott Lawton can take that spot. This last year, before the year started, we looked at their forwards and I thought, man, this is the best forward group in the NHL. Now, obviously, that didn't come to fruition, and maybe Vigneault has sort of lost touch. He's a coach that I believe in, but I see this Flyers team falling apart and Vigneault being fired in the next few months. 92.5 is too high to me. Bertie says fade Flyers. AV first coach to be fired. Prop. AV's run his course, and the Hart's more likely to be finished than rebounding. AV has to go. Dennis Garcia says over or under to Cindy. Excuse me. This team, I think this team will end up being an absolute train wreck, but maybe I'm being too harsh because Oscar Lindblom, Scott Loudon, James Van Riemsdyk, that's a good third line. Van Riemsdyk's run last year shocked me. Now, he didn't carry it over the second half of the season, but the Flyers sort of gave up. I just can't imagine Brassard as a second-line center. Do you have any interest in this Flyers squad, Pete?
No. I don't think they'll be terrible, but yeah, probably overvalued.
I think they could be terrible. This division is so strong.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaning towards an under 92.5. I wonder if I decide to pull the trigger on that. And now let's move over to the New Jersey Devils. My goodness.
Over. Official play, 89.5, minus 115. Official play, over.
It could be a great pick. Great bet. Over 89.5.
Before I hear what you have to say, official play. If it loses, it's fine.
It might be an absolutely great bet. There's so much talent and so many question marks in this group of forwards. And then I didn't love the Dougie Hamilton signing, but it should be an electric power play. I mean, Hischier only played 21 games last year with that horrible face injury. And we have such high expectations of Jack Hughes, Sharangovich, Igor Sharangovich, and Kuokkanen on that first line with Hughes, and then Zacha and Jesper Bratt on that second line with Hischier. There's no reason why this wouldn't be a really strong forward unit. You have Mackenzie Blackwood, who has decided now he's going to get vaccinated. I believe it was either today or yesterday that he's going to get vaccinated. And Bernier is a 1-2 punch and goal that I don't really trust. I don't know. They have such a high upside. I mean, it certainly would be an over or no bet. I just don't know.
It could lose. It could lose, of course, but you got. I think that the goaltending is mediocre but deep, and most importantly, they've got a core that is young that I think is primed for expected or unexpected improvement. So if it doesn't happen, fine. But they got a lot of young guys there who are looking like they should make significant improvements. And then Hamilton's the least defenseman. So put it all together, and it's not a high point total, 89.5.
I think it's I would certainly not take the other side. I think it's a good look. I think it's a good look and makes sense. Then we have the Columbus Blue Jackets. What horrific management. I know they have so many nice things to say about the general manager as a person, and it is good to have a Finnish general manager, but what a train wreck he's done with this hockey team. This was such a good hockey team. I don't know why when you come so close to succeeding, why you have to make changes. The Max Domi for Josh Anderson trade is one of the worst trades I can possibly imagine. Josh Anderson's so hard to play against. Max Domi's so easy to play against. Patrick Laine, I mean, the jury's out for him. I mean, Texier could possibly be a strong first-line center. And Cole Sillinger, I like that you're giving him all this opportunity, but the moves that they made make no sense to me. And then getting rid of Seth Jones, like he was the issue here, is just crazy. I mean, how bad is this Blue Jackets team going to be this year? And Laine will be traded at the deadline, I'm sure, to some team with hope. 76.5. I wonder if the under's in play. It's a low point total. What do you think, Pete?
I don't have an opinion on it. I guess I'd be leaning under just because of the strength of the division.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a closer look. And all we have here are unders at this point. All right, let's quickly go through the Western Conference. Kenny Can, thank you so much for the dono. Very, very, very kind of you.
All we have is unders in that division?
No, I have the over.
Right. I thought you said all we have was unders.
No, yeah, I mean for me, you got the Pete over 89.5 for the Devils, but I didn't take the Islanders over win total, but I did take them to win the division, which is probably they go hand in hand.
I'd also be leaning pretty strongly over in Hurricanes as well at 95.5.
Yeah, that over does make sense. That over does make sense. All right.